The Mercedes and Red Bull rivalry doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon, and this time it was Hamilton who took a cheeky dig towards his 2021 nemesis and the three-time world champion Max Verstappen. The topic of discussion, as you would have probably guessed, was the Vegas GP, and although Mercedes is not able to deliver the Red Bull-like performance on the track, they certainly don't shy away from taking hits and digs in the media, and in this case, the Brit did not hold back. One of the biggest rivalries that happened in the history of the sport back in 2021 has been reignited after the Las Vegas GP, and it seems like the fans are becoming more and more impatient to see all of those words being converted into on-track performances. But while we're still far away from witnessing that, the best offer that we can get is from the media, press and Mercedes' cheeky digs towards Verstappen and Red Bull. It's safe to say that the Vegas GP was not off to the best start, and although it ended properly well for every F1 fan out there with lots of overtakes and competition, the fans being kicked away from FP2 and being compensated $200 in vouchers for that, as well as the manhole cover ruining Sainz's entire weekend, is not something that an inaugural GP would want to witness after all of the pre-race criticism. Nonetheless, Verstappen took some massive shots towards the sport, saying that he was feeling like a clown during Thursday's drivers' presentation, where every fan felt a bit of a Hunger Games vibe while being presented to the world on a pedestal, and said that the entire racing weekend is about the show, leaving a small amount of 1% to the entire racing weekend. To top that off, the FP1 incident has put a lot of negativity on the entire racing weekend, and this is where Verstappen took yet another cheap shot at the FIA, saying that they need to change their rules, and the fact that Sainz had to receive a 10-place grid penalty for a mistake that wasn't either his or his team's speaks volumes about where we currently are with the current rulebook of the governing body. But according to Wolff, this should not be discussed, and the FIA did the right thing. So when elaborating on this matter, the Austrian was really fuming towards everybody who was critique-oriented of the racing weekend, saying, "This is not a black eye, this is nothing. It is a Thursday night. We have a free practice one that we're not doing. They're going to seal the drain covers. Nobody is going to talk about that tomorrow morning. It's completely ridiculous. How can you even dare talk bad about an event that sets the new standards to everything? And then you are speaking about an effing drain cover that's come undone. That is nothing. It's FP1. Give credit to the people that have set up this Grand Prix. They have made this sport much bigger than it ever was." I don't really think this would be Wolff's opinion if either Hamilton or Russell were the ones running over the manhole, but what can we say? The Mercedes team principal's response was exactly what the sport needed in tough times like this. Needless to say, Fred Vasseur strongly disagreed with Wolff, but it was Verstappen's response that set the tone of a fierce media fight throughout the entire weekend, and when elaborating on this, he went on to say, "That is true, of course, that it happened before, but you are supposed to learn from that. You know that when you go to a street circuit, such things could cause problems, so you should be prepared for that. And I think if it was Toto's car, he would have spoken differently, but I don't expect anything less from him. We would have been very angry too, like Ferrari. Absolutely, the entire car is ruined." Carlos also said that he didn't feel his legs for a couple of seconds, so the accident could have been a lot worse. Now, this is all during the free practice sessions. Keep in mind that we have an entire race to cover as well, although Verstappen's opinion of Vegas changed drastically after he was able to charge through the field and finally emerge victorious with his teammate finishing second. There are still some naysayers who feel like his attitude was unnecessary throughout the entire race weekend. Many, on the other hand, praised the Dutchman for the first time for actually being straightforward with all of the issues that presented themselves as quite hard to overcome. But according to Hamilton, the race itself was a spectacle, and Verstappen was wrong to put out cheap shots towards the entire organisation like he was doing throughout the racing weekend. Elaborating on this matter even further after finishing 7th and not really having the best weekend, one in which he was dead last at a certain point from the pit exit, Hamilton had a lot of praise for the organisation and said lots of great overtaking opportunities, and I think for all those who were so negative about the weekend, saying it was all about show, blah, 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 I think Vegas proved them wrong. Yes, some of the issues did present themselves exactly as the drivers had anticipated them before the beginning of the race weekend, such as the cold tyres being an issue going into turn 1, as we all saw how Alonso failed to catch this corner properly and ultimately ruined his and Bottas' race from the very start. Furthermore, the safety car restarts were also interesting because the drivers had to weave a bit extra in order to add more temperature to the tyres, but the original anticipation that the tyres would feel like driving on ice and the temperatures of the track would be record-breaking low has dropped down in the water. Even Christian Horner agreed with Hamilton, saying that this track has won the heart of Verstappen, who was singing Elvis as he was driving the victorious lap in Las Vegas. And when talking about this, the Brit went on to say, "I thought it was a great race, exciting. You've got long straights, big braking zones and no grip, so tricky for the drivers. I thought it delivered a great Grand Prix and the speeds around here are insane. Verstappen loves a race like that." Even though he was on the end of a penalty, when he came back, the way he fought, I think he changed his mind about Vegas. To be singing songs after the race is definitely an improvement if you consider that the comments Verstappen made were actually quite furious, and more importantly, they were aligned with the fans' opinions as well. It's not like his criticism wasn't well constructed, because if you are an F1 fan and if you get compensated $200 for not being allowed into FP2, I guess that will make you quite angry as well. Elaborating on this matter further, the sport wrote an official statement saying, "There is no higher priority at a Formula One race than the safety and security of drivers, fans and staff alike." Following last night's incident involving a water valve cover, the Las Vegas Grand Prix, F1 and the FIA were faced with the difficult decision to close the fan zones prior to the beginning of the free practice 2. "We appreciate your patience while we remedied the situation. This was not a decision we took lightly. As a thank you for your support, we would like to offer you a $200 voucher to the Las Vegas Grand Prix official shop." Still, even with Hamilton's strong opinion on Verstappen's comments and with Wolff's high praise for the organisers of the race, there is something that might be changing in the future, which is the time schedule of the entire event. True, Vegas is all about the glam and the night lights, but November might be posing serious challenges like the ones the entire sport was initially fearing. So when it comes to this, Wolff said that had it been for him, he would have just put the entire show to start a bit earlier, adding, "I wouldn't change a lot. I would change qualifying maybe from midnight to 10 p.m. like the race start, so you can still have the roads open long at Vegas and have dinner for the fans. Other than that, it was a perfect event." If you have Verstappen's approval of the entire racing experience, then finesses like this could be fixed in a heartbeat, and that's something that the sport will definitely work on in the foreseeable future. Although I do agree with Hamilton and Wolff when it comes to all the organisers pulling off such an extremely tough event in Vegas. It's the criticism of Verstappen that actually opens the eyes of the media and points to all of the potential issues that have the potential to hinder the racing experience of the drivers. With this in mind, what do you think about Hamilton's statement about Verstappen being negative? Let us know in the comments below.